It looks as if what I feared was going to happen in this Kansas City Chiefs fans case is already happening. Now, for those of you all who have not watched my prior videos, I've been saying for like the last week or so now that I think people are going to use these toxicology results. They're going to look at these toxicology results as if they're the end to this story. As if, oh, we now know what was in these guys' system. The case is solved. I was worried that the mainstream media would use this as like a bookend, a nice, way to tie up the story before moving on to something else. And it looks like that's what has happened. Because for the past few days, it has been radio silence. And listen, I understand that the news can't keep talking about something when there's nothing to talk about. I fully understand that we reached a point in this case where we're still waiting on more information. But, I turned on the news today. I also checked in last night, checked in on multiple news stations. Do you know what they're talking about all day? They're talking about freaking Taylor Swift. Every time I turn the news on, they're talking about Taylor Swift. Is Taylor Swift going to be at the Super Bowl? Will Taylor Swift be safe at the Super Bowl? CNN is even kind of hinting that, Republicans may attack Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. And it's just like, what? We got all of this talk about Taylor Swift. Can we talk about these 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans? I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, right? And they have these 3 diehard fans who died in a backyard, and we still have no answers as to what really happened. And like I said, it's these toxicology results, and they're preliminary toxicology results. What people need to understand is, I haven't seen the toxicology results. You haven't seen them. The mainstream media hasn't even seen them. No one has the report in front of their face. We're dealing with information that was told to people, and then those people told other people, and then those people told the media. So we still don't even fully know the results of the toxicology report. The autopsy report has not come in. But it seems as if, this preliminary toxicology report, hey guys, they had this in their system. And a large portion of people were already ready to just write this case off. Like, oh, these guys are junkies, who cares? But I still want to know what happened that night. I still want to know if anyone, Jordan, had knowledge that these 3 guys were frozen in the backyard. Because that's why I started covering this story. Before I even made my first video about the story, I already assumed that these guys had something in their system. But anyways, like I said, it's been radio silence for a couple of days. And that's disappointing for me because we finally reached a point where people were opening up. Like neighbors were starting to speak out. People who knew Jordan were starting to speak out. Other family members, not the ones that have, not the parents that have been all over the news, but cousins and random people were speaking out, and we were starting to learn more. And then it was like someone just shut the faucet off, right? But a lawyer, for I believe it's Clayton McGeeney's family's lawyer, he's speaking out. He's slamming law enforcement for automatically saying that this was not a homicide investigation. He says that they declared that too early and that they did not have enough information, and still to this point do not have enough information to write this off as a homicide investigation. He also has a lot more to say, so let's just go ahead and dive right into his comments. An attorney representing the family of Clayton McGeeney, one of 3 Kansas City men found dead in freezing conditions after an NFL watch party, said his clients need to know whether there was any intention or malice in party host Jordan Willis's behavior in the 2 days he didn't report the bodies in his yard. Tony Kage says that he would feel nothing but sympathy if Willis was blameless, in the deaths of McGeeney, Ricky Johnson, and David Harrington. But Kage said it would be very hard to explain how he could not realize what happened to his friends when they were frozen in his backyard for 2 days. I think that if Monday morning Willis had realized that his friends had expired overnight and he called 911, I don't think that this would be a story, Kage said. I don't know if we'd be talking about it today. It would get a few days in the Kansas City market and then it would fade away. Kage said McGeeney's mother, Nancy, and his fiancée, April Mahoney, attempted to reach McGeeney and then Willis over the 2-day period when the men were missing. Multiple people in their close-knit group of friends that lived within a mile radius made calls and house calls in attempts to find them, Kage said. It is unclear exactly when or how they died, Kage said. Multiple personal items belonging to the men that remained in Willis's home after they died raise further questions. How does Willis not realize what has happened to his friends? That's a big part of what the family wants to know, Kage said. We may never have an answer to that. We just might not. It's very hard to see a scenario where something unusual didn't happen, he continued. Kage said there has been disappointment over the way the KCPD communicated with the press about the men's deaths. The agency previously told Fox News that the deaths were 100% not being investigated as homicides. I don't think they were in a position to say that. Clearly, there is an ongoing investigation, Kage said. I just don't know how they made that determination, and I don't know that was helpful to say. When you say there's no sign of foul play, there was no gunshot, no stab wound, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't something that occurred that was illegal. I don't know that was handled in the ideal manner. I'm not saying that anybody did anything intentional, Kage said, but I don't think that it would be required for there to be criminal liability. Regardless of who was responsible, the fact is that 3 young men who were in good health were celebrating with each other. They ended up dead. One of Nancy's main concerns is that this does not happen to anyone else in the future. The media attention that this case has received, Kage said, has been a double-edged sword for his clients. On one hand, they want to grieve in peace. On the other hand, Kage believes the attention can be used to apply some gentle but effective pressure on the KCPD and compel a more thorough investigation. When full autopsy and toxicology reports are available and police complete their forensic investigation of electronic devices, at least 2 of the men's families have been asked for their sons' phone passwords. The Platte County Prosecutor's Office will decide whether criminal charges should be pressed against Willis or Alex Weimer Lee. Last week, representatives from the families of Harrington, Johnson, and McGeeney met with the prosecutor's office. Kage said prosecutors wanted the family to know this situation was being investigated thoroughly and that they would cooperate with the families in the future. There are still a lot of unanswered questions and understandable skepticism as far as an explanation for how this happened, Kage said. There are attempts being made to resolve those questions. Kage also said some of the family have publicly expressed skepticism about Willis's announcement that he checked himself into a rehab facility. The timing could appear to a cynical person to be a bit suspect, Kage said. On the other hand, he may have a problem and he needed to be checked into rehab. But although he said that the only results of the investigation can prove any culpability or lack thereof in the men's deaths, Kage's criminal defense background compels him to wonder about the case in the interim. I really want to know where exactly their bodies were discovered. What were they wearing? What was in the house? If there was drug use, was there a cleanup that occurred in those 2 days before the bodies were discovered? Was there paraphernalia in plain view when law enforcement arrived? A lot of these questions may never be answered in a way that makes people satisfied. But McGeeney's family is patiently awaiting police findings until further information is released. And their position is that we don't know if an investigation was done appropriately or inappropriately because we don't know how it was done. Well, I think that we do have a couple of answers to those questions. We don't know if the investigation was done thoroughly, right? We weren't there. But we know that there was evidence, important evidence if you ask me, left behind. I think that when you find 3 guys frozen in the backyard and you're trying to figure out the mystery of how they died, I think that any and all of their belongings, I don't care if it's a Scully cap, I don't care if it's a jacket, a lighter, what it is, I think all of their belongings is important evidence. We know that backpacks, jackets, everything left behind by law enforcement. Also, was there a cleanup? Was there drug paraphernalia found? We don't know. But what we do know is that there were empty pill bottles found, left at the scene, and within one of the peoples who died in his backpack. So there was tons of stuff left at the scene that I think good investigators, if you were conducting a thorough investigation, I think all of this would be brought in. I think all of it would be brought in. But no, not only was it left behind, it was left behind with Jordan. The one guy who we're all looking at trying to figure out, like, are you involved in this in any way? They left behind this evidence with Jordan. And even at the time of this recording, they never came and got that stuff. That stuff had to get dropped off to the families. So, I'm not confident that they conducted a thorough investigation in the beginning. I do think that now they're trying to get the ball rolling. They're getting the wheels moving on this investigation. I do believe now they're looking into it, but in the beginning, I don't think they were. And that's not just me talking, all of the families seem to believe that. And the fact that these items were left behind, it just kind of shows you what we're dealing with. But I'm glad that this lawyer is out here still trying to keep this story alive. Like he said, it's been a double-edged sword as far as all of the attention this case has gotten. But sometimes, and I told you this at the beginning, when I started covering this case, sometimes it's good when people start talking about a case on YouTube, on various social media platforms, because it raises awareness about the case and it applies a certain pressure to law enforcement to take this case seriously because they know that the public eye is on them. And oftentimes, regardless if you want to believe it or not, I've had to sit down and speak with family members from, families who have dealt with tragic situations where they didn't get the help that they needed because their case maybe didn't blow up and get the attention of a Gabby Petito case or something like that. And I'm telling you right now, public attention and that pressure that comes with it, it puts a fire under these guys, under these investigators behind to try to solve a case because they know that all eyes are on them. It's kind of like any job, if you will. If you're at work, even if you're working at McDonald's, okay? You're working at McDonald's, you're chilling, everyone's having a good time. When the general manager comes in, when there's that more pressure, people start getting more effective at their job, right? People start doing what they need to do and they stop slacking off. And that's how the public comes into these situations and they start paying attention to these cases. They apply a little pressure and then we see law enforcement start taking these cases more seriously. So we still have a lot to figure out about this case. We still, like I said earlier, We could talk about these preliminary toxicology results all we want. We haven't seen a report. A full report hasn't even come in. The autopsy report hasn't come in. We're still waiting. They basically got some preliminary information that they can give the families to put the families at ease a little bit. Basically, just to go ahead and clear the question, was drugs involved? Because we all assumed it, but it's kind of that detail that you need to know because you want to know, was there some type of other situation going on here? You know, were they killed some other type of way? But for now, let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to the channel via Cash App. I'll have my Cash App in the pinned comment. You could also donate via Super Thanks or for free. You could help the channel by liking the video, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.